I have, I mean, just a general scenario. So
Sure.
let's say there are traditional ETL jobs that enterprises have, right? One such example is a lot of enterprises are using, let's say, older technologies like IBM data stage, okay,
Correct.
where they have built enterprise level ETL pipelines serving the entire enterprise. Now, when you migrate, uh, and some of them are already on cloud, right? Because all of those vendors have also cloud deployments available. So they probably are not on-prem, they have moved to cloud, but are still data stage on cloud, like in this example, right? So when you try to move such services out of still traditional or legacy ETL uh, tools to newer technologies, and do you go with let's say what Redshift and services provide out of the box, or there are other ETL tools like Informatica, Matillion, Fivetran, and all the bunch of other ETL tools, right? So how do they stack up against the services that are provided by cloud providers? Do you have any such observation or any other comparison around that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'll try to answer this into different parts, Gagandeep. Uh, Option one, what you said, absolutely. I have seen that pattern, and for I do recall one of our customer did migrated from not running on-prem this traditional sources. Maybe you run it on EC2 or those kinds of stuff. Maybe like for a common example is Talent, right? Most of the people
Right.
leverage this Talent on Windows machine, which is on our AWS instead of
Right.
running on. So it all depends on how exactly are you looking around. So if I talk about a similar example of talent itself, right, where people in most of the behavioral of the talent is drag and drop. Like you have more design your jobs which are drag and drop, and you're pretty comfortable and more focused on I want to leverage more modernized way of doing the things in a better fashion, but don't want to leave my drag and drop because it's a heavy change management at my end. Like learning Spark, learning Python is easy, but again, how exactly you're consuming your ETL as of today, in what form, how your developer are doing, that's more important to understand those fact facets, right? And that's where you need to decide who are the people, who are your consumers, and then you decide that whether you want to go with one tool or not. Sorry. So one is the persona, right? Who are the personas and based on what you can do it. Second, what are the different jobs you have, how those jobs have been written. Is the jobs more SQL based kind of oriented or more programming based kind of oriented? Are the programmings are the typical programs what you have, or is it more Spark oriented? What exactly the refactoring cost looks like? That's the second factor I would generally consider. Is it more already Spark based kind of a thing? Then it's all good, you can leverage any of the tools available. If it is more, let's say, some old Python or maybe some old custom based tool which has been developed by many organization, then you need to see, do you really need to leverage what tools, right? Maybe then in the case, that's where you can think about maybe leveraging Glue Studio to drag and drop, use your custom business logic and then drag and drop. Or maybe you can also use DBT. Like this reinvent AWS has understand most of the customer comes from a SQL oriented, so you can fetch out those SQL queries and leverage DBT CLI, which can integrate with Glue. And third comes is the security aspect. One of the thing which I see is when you try to add these different tools in your architecture, the important puzzle that has to be solved is the consistent layer of security. Now most of the times it becomes so simplified when you leverage AWS or cloud native tools, because security is consistent. Like you talk about data zone, lake formation, or basic things like IAM and KMS, it is very easy. But when it comes to maybe some third party tools or things around it, then security is also very important. And that's where it may be fruitful for your use cases. Like maybe I've seen one cases where cloud native doesn't work a lot better, but some third party works better, is for healthcare customer, where they want to tokenize the record on the fly before even the data record lands on any of the cloud. That tokenization aspect is very critical from a compliance point. So that's where I've seen different other tools the customers are using rather than cloud native. So there are different scenario perspective, I would say. But generally, if you ask me what would be your framework to select which tool. These are the three things I will leverage and take an outcome what this three things metrics looks like, and then I'll go and select the tool.